I'm James Milestone, and this is my presentation on affordable housing in the Bay Area. My stance. I want you to volunteer and vote for affordable housing in the Bay Area. Why exactly? Homelessness. You've most likely heard of the major issue of homelessness that the Bay Area is facing. Though there are several routes to deal with this issue, many causes to deal with, I think that we should take it on by making affordable housing more accessible. The less expensive houses are, the more people can afford houses. Introduction and context to the issue. How long has homelessness been a problem? Well, forever. But recently it has grown out of proportion, particularly in the Bay Area. The Bay Area is, as the name implies, a bay. Bays often attract a large amount of commercial activities and industries because they have access to trade via the ocean. The companies bring jobs, which bring people. As it is a peninsula, there is not too much space to build out in any direction other than south. This lack of space has caused houses to become quite expensive and pushed many people to the streets. Another major cause that is added to this homelessness is the Great Recession, which is when the economy fell in 2007 to 2009. This pushed many people to be laid off from their jobs and not have a source of income, which caused them to have to move to the streets. The slide shows several statistics that reflect this statement. First, in the Bay Area at minimum wage, people need to work an 80-hour week just to afford rent, not including food or other necessities. There are San Francisco laws put in place to prevent people from working beyond 40 hours a week. To have to work double that just shows how backwards our system is. We need to combat this with affordable housing. Secondly, in a survey across nearly 100 different colleges, 36% of college students had experienced food insecurity in the past 30 days, and an additional 36% had experienced a housing insecurity in the past year, while 9% of college students had reported being homeless in the previous year. This is just a testament to show how large the issue is. Homelessness is carrying over to our college students. This would not be a problem, or at least be a smaller problem if they had access to affordable housing. How does this directly affect you? I think a lot of you already know how this issue affects you. Just look across the street in front of the corner store. Odds are there's a tent or someone sitting out in front of it. This is one way that all of us can see how large the homeless population is. Here's a stat. In 2013, the poverty rate was at 11.3% in the Bay Area. This is way too many people for such a wealthy city. Both statistically and personally speaking, there are far too many homeless people in the Bay Area. Now you might be thinking, why do I care? I'm not one of those homeless people. Though you should care for them out of the good of your heart. There are other reasons to want them off the street. First, they leave vast amounts of waste everywhere. As I mentioned, they have tents that take up a lot of space on the street, and they leave more waste, including trash and excrement. As far as I'm aware, no one wants any of this waste on the street. Furthermore, they also take up large sums of money that the government spends each year. The government gives $1.03 trillion in aid every year to support the homeless population. The U.S. government. Of course, this money could go to more important things or local resources like better cleaning the neighborhoods, building new parks, more resources at libraries. What can you do? Now that you know how the homeless population affects you, you probably want to get behind this cause. You can support it by donating, volunteering, or voting in favor of it. Voting and donating resources often go together. I found two very quickly just looking online. You can donate to or volunteer for the National Low-Income Housing Coalition or the Satellite Affordable Housing Habitat for Humanity. Next, voting is also an important task. It allows people to make major changes to laws and policies about affordable housing. It is also important to be careful about voting and which rules you vote for. I'll go further in depth in the next slide. Oppositions. There are two main arguments against affordable housing. First is that it has failed before. There are several states which put affordable housing to use and made the situation worse. Here's an example that shows the details and reasons for why housing policies are sensitive. Housing in Oregon is extremely expensive and people want to forcibly lower the cost. Several sources argue that mandating lower rents will both encourage people to remain in apartments longer than they otherwise would, shutting out others who need them more, and discourage landlords from erecting or improving apartment buildings. What good is low rent if there are no vacant apartments to be found? This is a quote from an article speaking on the issue in Oregon. Pretty much to summarize it, it's saying that forcing the price of houses to decrease discourages people from investing in building housing. Instead, it prompts them to invest in commercial construction, which will grant them more money. Though this is a strong argument, we should take this into account while creating policies. Different aspects of house building and pricing can be changed. For example, they can only lower the cost a small amount or offer other incentives like tax cuts to encourage them to continue building houses. Another source argues that creating affordable housing breeds racism, segregation, and low-quality housing. This is because affordable housing areas are often meant for quantity, not quality. Different programs are building houses of the best qualities, but the cheapest they can. It is best to just take what we can give to the homeless people. Like, give them as much as we can. If we could build better affordable housings, of course we should opt for those options instead of cheap ones. Additionally, the affordable neighborhoods often split among races. This is where the breed of racism comes in. This is not forced, but it just kind of happens. This issue doesn't really happen as a result of the housing areas or anybody in charge of it or dividing the people, but rather the staggered racial homelessness rates. Like, say, some races have a lot higher homelessness rates than others do. And I guess you could counter this problem to make them all even and force equal amounts of each race to go into the areas, but it just wouldn't it wouldn't serve the most people of the races that need it the most. It would be best described as equal but not fair to employ these rules. The church's stance. The church full-heartedly supports the homeless population in any way that it can. I found many Catholic charities work to prevent homelessness by providing financial assistance and long-term support and strives to resolve issues that may lead to homelessness. This is one of the examples is the Catholic Charity USA. Furthermore, the church has written an encyclical on racism, fully supporting helping the homeless, along with many verses in the Bible directly saying support the poor. This seems very straightforward. Of course, the church cares about the homeless population and will do anything to support them. Rewrap. Okay, let me just reiterate what I want you to leave this presentation with. Homelessness is a very large problem in the modern world, particularly in the Bay Area. We should do away with it by voting, volunteering, and donating. Please be sure to be careful and mindful when voting. Should affordable housing prices be forced too much or the prices drop too low, there may be even fewer houses built in the future, making the problem worse. Here are my sources. Goes on for a second. Thank you.